First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend I'm not going to financially support her if she quits her job to pursue an Etsy business? I've, 27 male, been dating my girlfriend, 25 female, for almost a year now. I'm a remote software engineer at Amazon, and she works at an Amazon warehouse. Before we started officially dating, we discussed our finances and decided that we would keep our finances separate and split everything 50-50. I told her before we started dating that keeping finances separate and equal was important to me, and she agreed to it. However, she's lately been mentioning how she wants to quit her job because it's making her miserable and start focusing on her art more. I told her that was a bad idea and that she should at the very least have a different job lined up before she quits her current one, and that she could start her Etsy business as a side hustle on weekends and weekday evenings and then pursue it full-time if it's profitable. She's been passive-aggressive about it to me lately. She thinks because I make enough money to comfortably support us both, she should be able to pursue what makes her happy. I think my suggestions to her problem were reasonable. I don't think she needs to risk her income and dive headfirst into this art thing till it proves to be somewhat profitable. She doesn't even want to apply to any other jobs because she only wants ones where she can do something artsy. Am I the a-hole for saying I'm not going to financially support her if she decides to go forward with such a risky move? Edit. You really don't need to tell me your opinions about whether you think our 50-50 split is fair or not. We're both adults, and she agreed to it. I'm not making her do anything. I don't love my job either, but being financially responsible is important to me. I understand some people think splitting equitably is more fair, and I disagree with that. But that's okay. People can have different opinions and do what works best for themselves. But that's not what I'm really asking about in this post. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Not the a-hole. Your suggestion to her is perfect. She's extremely immature and entitled. She can of course pursue what makes her happy, but at the end of the day, there are real bills to be paid, and if she can't do that while doing things that makes her happy, she needs to be an adult and keep a job that pays the bill. Absolutely keep your finance separately and don't give in to her request. Also, you have only been dating for almost a year. Imagine her entitlement if you are actually married. Good God. And if you Google advice about making a side hustle your main income, every site will tell you exactly what Opie told his girlfriend. Start slow, build up your available stock and customer base, and only when it actually takes off should you quit your full-time job. She's setting herself up to fail by going all in without anything set up at all. If I was her boyfriend, of only 1 year, I wouldn't want to completely support another capable, able-bodied adult either. Agreed. And she is making this suggestion because she is hoping to use Opie as her safety net. Not the a-hole. She's a new girlfriend, not a wife/sugar baby. You agreed to terms before you started dating, and now she figures she's riding the gravy train. I'd say this is a red flag, and to be careful about how she responds next. Not the a-hole. This is a girlfriend of only 1 year, not a wife or even a fiancé. There is zero obligation to financially support her, especially when she seems to have no idea how to run her own business and hasn't even tried her hand at it yet. She seems to want to be a sugar baby and is already getting passive-aggressively upset at Opie's refusal to fund her artsy lifestyle plans. Don't do it, Opie. It will just make the breakup extra ugly and guilt-ridden. Update. I'm breaking up with her. Apparently, I'm controlling and bad boyfriend for expecting a grown adult woman to pull her weight in a relationship. My exes were engineers too, and 50-50 worked great for us, and we have the same morals and drive. My current girlfriend is different from what I'm used to, but her creative, spontaneous, carefree side is not cute to me anymore. She's just irresponsible, and I'm tired of being the mature one. I'm done with this. I don't feel like she's an equal partner to me. I'm all for being entrepreneurial. A lot of my colleagues have ventured out on their own and become successful. My girlfriend has no plans and just wants to wing it and let her passion run free. I'm done with her. She is better off without me. Thanks, Reddit. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my fiancé dropped our son off at my workplace? I'm male 27, am a nurse. My fiancé and I have a 1-year-old baby boy. Fiancé doesn't work. She decided to leave her previous job and stay at home. We've agreed that since I'm the one working, she's the one handling home chores. Our son's care is shared, meaning there are times when I handle his feeding, /bathing, /cleaning, etc. However, I made it clear that when it's time for work, she should be taking responsibility. So far, everything has been going according to what we agreed upon. But recently, she's been complaining about my shift hours changing, which is something I can't control obviously, because currently the unit lacks nurses, and it's impossible for me to do day-to-day planning because sometimes I'd work 12 hours. Sometimes 15. So it's quite unpredictable. But I do my best to spend time at home and give my fiancée time for herself. Her cousin's wedding was 2 days ago. That morning, my fiancée wanted me to skip work and stay home with our son so she'd go to the salon with her sisters. I told her I can't just skip work for the day. I already had a long day shift that started at 7:45 a.m. till 6 p.m. I told her she could either call my mom or just wait for me to come home. She threw a fit and saying her cousin's wedding was important and I was being unsupportive. I left home after that and started my shift at the hospital. At around 1 p.m. when I was in the middle of work, it usually gets busier in the afternoon, I got a few missed calls from my fiancé. Then she sent a text telling me she was at the hospital's parking lot with our son. I went to meet her there. She wanted me to take our son and watch him till she gets back from the salon at 4. I lost it. I told her I can't watch our son when I'm in the middle of my shift, and she kept saying I should just let him stay with me and that it was okay. I absolutely lashed out at her. I called her unreasonable and selfish. She could have let someone watch him, but she said her family was busy. We got into an argument and she left him with me. I had to drive to Mom's house and let her have him till I finished my shift. I got home, but I was extremely pissed. My fiancé and her mom said I overreacted and that I was supposed to help since he's my son too. Mother-in-law said I was in the wrong for caring more about work than my own son, but I already told my fiancé I was busy. She wanted me to apologize for yelling and causing a scene, but I refused after this. I want to mention that she's normally fine with my work schedule until recently, and whenever there's an event, we'd both make arrangements and I'd stay with our son while she's gone. This time, I told her I was busy and that I won't be allowing her to distract me from work, but she was being stubborn, thinking I'm prioritizing work and being unsupportive. Those might be her mother's words, but my fiancé takes responsibility here. This misunderstanding, as my fiancé calls it, could have ended with a discussion, but her mother is determined to paint me as a bad parent who isn't pulling weight and taking part in responsibility in caring for our son. I'm tired of her and how she keeps judging me while ignoring her daughter's behavior. Mother-in-law said I was in the wrong for caring more about work than my own son. But getting her daughter getting her hair done is more important than your son? Not at a-hole. You're right. My mother-in-law is just trying to put the blame on me no matter how hard I tried to explain to her that her daughter and I already talked about it, and that my work is important to me. I realized that this is my son too, and that he's my responsibility as well. But my fiancé is acting selfish at this point, and her mom refuses to see it. She put your son at risk and didn't care. You should be the one fuming at both of them. What was your son supposed to do at your work? Wearing a mask being 1-year-old? Shaking my head. Piggybacking onto this comment to ask Opie, why are you so focused on what the mother-in-law says? She can do a running jump. Have this discussion with your fiancé in private. Cut out the mother-in-law. Not at a-hole. Not at a-hole? Your fiancé and her mother sound like idiots. Mother-in-law said I was in the wrong for caring more about work than my own son. Her daughter cared more about a salon appointment than her own son. Do you really want to marry into this? Fiancé also took their 1-year-old to hang out at the hospital in the middle of a pandemic, exposing him to all sorts of diseases because she wanted to get her hair done. I'd be livid. Not at a-hole, and if I were you, I'd reconsider tying yourself to such a selfish, self-centered woman. Just look at your mother-in-law for what she'll be like in 20 to 30 years. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling at my daughter for speaking ill of the dead? My daughter's 19 female stepmother, 31, died a week ago. She wanted to spend her last days at home, and when we knew the end was near, my daughter and I went into the room where she was laying. My daughter and her stepmom have had a contentious relationship throughout the years. And she had left the house at 18, telling her stepmother how much she hated her because we had asked her to pay for college by herself. However, when her stepmother got sick, There was a brief period where both she and her stepmother seemed pretty open to forgiving each other for whatever they felt that the other had done to offend each other. My wife had also said she hopes my daughter can go to college eventually. My daughter was away working as a waitress in another town, but when the end seemed near, she ended up asking friends to cover her shifts and drove back to our house. Their initial greeting with each other seemed pleasant, but then my wife fell asleep and my daughter went to her room. Then a week ago, doctors said she could go at any time. My daughter and I ended up going to her stepmom's room, and when my daughter went to reach for her stepmother's hand, her stepmother moved her hand away. But then her stepmother said to me, "Where is my daughter? I want to see my daughter." When my daughter tried to say something, my wife shook her head and said, "I don't want you here." My daughter walked out, and I brought my younger daughter, 5, in to see her mother. When I went to see my daughter later, she said she acknowledged that her stepmom was probably in a lot of pain. My wife died the next morning. My entire spirit is broken, and planning her burial the way she would have wanted and being with my 5-year-old has been the only thing that's kept me alive. After the small funeral we had, I let my daughter go over to my late wife's sister's home. The rest of the people from my family gathered to talk, including my older daughter. We were talking about how much my wife had to look forward to and how badly we feel for my daughter. My older daughter suddenly snapped and stood up saying, "Can we just get out what everybody except my dad is feeling?" She was a complete and utterly awful person who has done so much to make each of our lives miserable. Are we going to continue to pretend that she's a saint now that she's gone? I flipped out and told my daughter she could leave my house if she wants to continue speaking ill of the dead, and that I couldn't think of anything lower than speaking about someone who can't defend themselves, so she should settle for anger towards my wife on her own. My daughter ended up packing up her things and saying she was leaving. My relatives all got mad at me and asked if I was making talking about what kind of person my late wife was taboo forever. I told them that I didn't want to hear any of it, especially when we just buried her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. I can't imagine what you must be feeling having lost your wife. However, one of your wife's final acts was to cast your daughter aside. Your daughter seems to think that you enabled or allowed a lot of mistreatment by your former wife. I don't know how true that is, but from what you tell us of her actions, it doesn't sound good. You sound like the kind of father that squashed down mistreatment of your own child, or put your head in the sand so as to not deal with it, and enable your wife's poor treatment of your daughter. Which is what you're doing once again. In fact, the reason this has likely happened is because you permitted your wife to treat your daughter poorly over the years, which built up a lot of resentment. I understand you're grieving the loss of a wife. Again, I can't even fathom that. But you're going to lose a daughter soon too. It's time to start cutting your losses. Unless you deal with this, her way of settling her anger on her own will highly likely be by either cutting you out of her life or having a very frosty relationship with you for a long time. I'm sorry for your loss. Important edit. Saw OP's comments where he says the reason he's not paying for his daughter's college is so he can pay to send the younger, his wife's, daughter to private kindergarten. Wow. So you'd not support your daughter's college education, something that really matters in life, because your younger real daughter has to go to private kindergarten, which you openly acknowledge was your wife's decision. Sir, it sounds like you and your wife have reaped exactly what you sowed. To be very clear, you and your wife were absolute a-holes. No wonder your daughter said what she did and despised your wretched wife. Also, she will doubtlessly come to despise you as a failure of a father and failure of a man. You say you can't think of anything lower than someone speaking ill of someone who can't defend themselves? I'll help you with that. Something that is lower, and probably the lowest of the low, is selling out your daughter because you didn't have the spine to say no to a young lover. My 5-year-old has been the only thing that's kept me alive. This is the statement that cements my opinion that you're the a-hole. Everyone else can see your wife sucked. She probably emotionally abused your oldest daughter, and you clearly don't care about your oldest because you excluded her in the thing that keeps you alive during this horrible time. Don't speak ill of the dead, it's just a cheap cop-out. Your wife sucked, and so do you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a witch for saying it was my sister's fault she died in an accident? So, my 16-year-old little sister died in a freak accident 5 months ago. I can't say a lot about the accident since there's gonna be a trial, but I can say that there was another party at fault for her death. I've been dating my current partner for about a year and a half, and in that time, I haven't met their mother for more than 3 times. There are issues between my partner and their mother, and we usually visit on holidays, and that's all. Recently, we visited my mother-in-law, and the conversation quickly went to my sister and me dealing with my grief. I told my mother-in-law and her husband the truth, that I have never been this angry and sad in my life, that I am not coping well. I do see a mental health professional twice a week. I told them the thing that bothers me the most, which is related to my sister's gravesite. The person who caused my sister's death was apparently randomly buried right next to her. I hate that she has to rest next to him. My mother-in-law then told me that it was my sister's fault she got killed. Because of reasons related to her death I cannot talk about in detail because of the upcoming trial. I started to cry, told her I needed to step out for a second, and went and sat on the front stairs for a while. I came back, told everyone that I was fine, and changed the subject. Mother-in-law then proceeded to tell me I was being weak, and I shouldn't have minded her saying that about my sister, since it was a fact that it was my sister's fault as well. We left. I told my partner I felt like my mother-in-law kinda ambushed me and I felt bad. My partner understood me completely and told me this was the reason they didn't have a relationship with their mother. Later, I told my best friends about this, and they disagreed with me and my partner. They told me I was just being too serious, taking things out of context, and since me and mother-in-law don't have a proper relationship, I probably just misunderstood her words. I don't think I did. I don't think anyone should watch their words around me. But I also think a person that doesn't know the whole story, even though I did tell my mother-in-law the circumstances of my sister dying, and she knew there is a trial coming, shouldn't say these kind of things, especially to their child's partner, especially in the stage of getting to know someone. So the question is, am I the a-hole for thinking my mother-in-law is being rude and weird about my sister's death? I honestly don't even know anymore. Not the a-hole. Dump your friends. Yeah, what the hell? With friends like those, who needs enemies? Not a a-hole. You don't even need to ask. Seriously, most people would have lost it on your mother-in-law if they were in your position. I honestly expected you to blow up on her, but yeah, your feelings are totally justified. Holy crap. NTA, NTA, NTA. First of all, I am so sorry for your loss, OP. Second, is your mother-in-law a freaking sociopath? I don't think she even makes a-hole territory because that is a whole new level of heartless. Even if the accident was 100% your sister's fault, you would still feel indescribable pain. We are human. There's no logic or fact when it comes to our emotions. There is no math for grief. We hurt when we lose who we love. Nitpicking over liability and blame is the job of insurance companies and attorneys. Her calling you weak for a very justified human reaction disrespects both your grief and your sister's memory. I'm so sorry she said that to you, and I would suggest not speaking to her until she sincerely apologizes. You need your space now. Best of luck. My thoughts are with you and your family. P.S. To hell with your friends. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.